A young boy steps through the entrance of the ancient Shaolin temple, and the very moment he crosses that threshold, the heavy doors slam shut behind him with a deep, echoing boom that swallows the silence whole. He is now standing completely alone inside those sacred walls, surrounded by the kind of serious, heavy atmosphere that most people will never get the chance to feel in their lifetime. But do not let his small frame mislead you for even a second, because this boy has been carrying a kind of power inside him that most grown men will spend their entire lives chasing and never find. His name is Xiao Yu, and he has been training in Kung Fu since the age of 3, which means that by the time he is standing in that temple at just 8 years old, his body and his mind have already been forged into something truly extraordinary. And what is waiting for him inside those walls is the most important trial of his entire life so far. 3 senior students are positioned and ready for him, and the rule could not be simpler. He has to defeat all 3 of them before the incense stick burns completely down to nothing, or the test ends and he walks away having failed. The first 2 come at him together with every bit of force they can pull together, and for a stretch of time the temple fills with the sounds of fast movement and sharp, focused energy. He takes them both down without having to dig too deep. Then the third one steps forward, and this one is a different story entirely, the genuine master. So when the 2 of them lock into combat, the floor beneath them actually shakes, and every single exchange builds faster and harder than the one that came before it. Right as the incense reaches its very last moment, everything goes still. Xiao Yu has passed, and he walks out of that temple, carrying a quiet but deeply earned smile on his face. Outside, his master is waiting and greets him in a calm, steady voice, sharing that the 3 bronze-level seniors have scored him at 88.78, a number that sits only 2 points beneath the master's own personal record. Then, after letting that sink in for a moment, the master brings something else to the table. Ever since Xiao Yu was brought to the temple by his parents, he has never once stepped beyond those mountains. But now a school in Korea has formally requested him as an exchange student, and the master, though he is clearly carrying some quiet concern about it, explains that arrangements have already been made for Xiao Yu to stay with a well-known scientist named Dr. Zhang. A bus heading toward the city pulls up nearby, and just as Xiao Yu opens his mouth to say something to his master, his voice does not carry far enough to reach him. So the bus begins pulling away, and Xiao Yu breaks into a full sprint after it, leaving the mountains behind for the very first time. Over in Korea, a 15-year-old boy named Kyunan has been running his school's martial arts club with the kind of calm, natural confidence that makes people stop. He is sharp, deeply skilled in taekwondo, and the kind of person who is genuinely easy to admire. His 10-year-old sister Shaolin has been watching him train with real, unfiltered pride, while their younger brother Xiaobei is parked nearby, working his way through a mountain of snacks like it is the most important task he has been given all day. Shaolin eventually tells him to ease up on the food. Both of them are already well aware that a Chinese exchange student will be arriving soon and moving into their home, and life as they know it is about to shift. That same night, their father, Dr. Zhang, reaches out over video call and explains that his research is keeping him away for a few more days, which means the 2 of them are going to have to hold things down on their own for a little while longer. Shaolin does not hold back, pushing back with real feeling and reminding him that after their mother passed away, he made a promise to be present, but he has consistently been absent. Dr. Zhang lets out a slow sigh and tells them he is almost through with his work, and that he has already sent them a special gift to look forward to, and he tells them that this particular gift is carrying years of his most important research inside it. Right around that same moment, a group of armed men has been quietly and deliberately closing in on Dr. Zhang's lab from the outside. Back at the house, the doorbell rings and Xiao Yu arrives at the door, and the 3 kids get pulled into introductions and easy, comfortable conversation without a second thought. None of them have even the faintest idea what is being set in motion far away from where they are standing. The armed men force their way into the lab, seize Dr. Zhang, and cut off his video call right in the middle of the struggle. Then they start pressing him hard about something called Turing 9, a top-secret project that he has been keeping buried away from the rest of the world for a long time. One of the men slams his fist on the table and demands answers. Dr. Zhang stays completely composed and responds in a quiet, steady voice, telling them that Turing 9 is nothing more than a simple talking toy, but the men are not willing to believe a single word coming out of his mouth. They start working him over hard, trying to beat something useful out of him. When they pull up the security footage from the lab, they quickly discover that he had already shipped Turing 9 to his home address before they had even arrived. Their leader, Shen, does not waste a breath and immediately dispatches 2 of his men to go and retrieve the package before anyone else can get to it. That same night, the 2 operatives slip into disguises and park themselves outside Dr. Zhang's house, watching the place quietly and waiting for the right moment. Inside, Xiao Yu has been trying to settle into meditation, but Xiao Bei's video game is running at full blast blast and tearing his focus apart completely. Xiaobei eventually drags him into the game, and within just a few minutes the two of them are laughing and hollering together like they have been friends their whole lives. The noise rolls all the way down the hall into Xiaolan's room, and she marches in fully prepared to shut the whole thing down. But the boys cut the screen and drop into fake sleep so quickly that she barely has a chance to catch them doing it. Out in the parked car, the two men are going back and forth about what the right move is. The younger one is ready to go in right now, but the senior shuts that down immediately and tells him the plan is to wait until morning. Let the kids leave for school, then slip inside quietly, grab the package, and vanish without leaving a single trace behind. Later that same night, while she is getting herself ready for bed, Xiaolan notices the package her father had sent sitting there and carries it to her room out of pure curiosity. When she opens it, she finds an electronic panda toy sitting inside, and the very moment she presses the power button, it begins speaking to her in her mother's voice. Dr. Zhang had embedded advanced AI technology into it and carefully recorded his late wife's voice so that his children would always have something of her close to them. Xiaolan's eyes are filling with tears almost before she even fully processes what she is hearing. The panda then gently asks her to set a new password, and she leans in and whispers something softly, just barely audible, before placing the panda beside her and drifting off to sleep while holding on to the memory of her mother. The following morning, all three kids head out to school together, and from a distance, the two men watch them leave and track their movements carefully. Da clocks the panda hanging from Xiaolan's backpack right away. She loves it far too much to ever consider leaving it behind, which means the men are going to have to completely rethink their approach. On the walk to school, the group runs into Qiunan and his younger sister Shanshan, and that is when the junior operative makes his move, charging up from behind and ripping the panda clean off Xiaolan's bag before anyone has a chance to react. Xiaoyu sees it the instant it happens and takes off in pursuit without hesitation, and with Qiunan throwing himself into it as well, they run the thief down and bring him to the ground fast, recovering the panda without it turning into anything more complicated than it needed to be. At school, Xiaoyu gets formally introduced to the class, and his traditional clothing immediately pulls stares and sets off quiet whispers moving around the room. Everyone has started wondering to themselves just how capable this new kid actually is. They do not have to sit with that question for long though, because during PE class, Xiaoyu delivers a performance of speed and flexibility so sharp and clean that even the teacher ends up standing completely still, just watching him with wide eyes and saying nothing. After class wraps up, Xiaoyu and Xiaobei make their way over to the Taekwondo hall, where Xiaolan has been watching Qiunan work through his training session. Xiaoyu locks in and studies every single movement with real attention and focus, and when Qiunan notices that he is being watched that closely, something in him rises to the moment, and he starts pushing through his most impressive and demanding sequences, clearly wanting to make sure the new kid sees exactly what he is capable of. That night, after the house has gone completely quiet, the two men finally make their move. The senior one climbs in first and comes down directly onto a cactus, letting out a sharp cry of pain with spines buried deep all over him. But they push through it and ease their way into the house regardless. What they have no way of knowing is that Xiao Yu has been wide awake in the living room this whole time, quietly working through the same Taekwondo combinations he had been studying closely earlier that day. The moment he picks up on the intruders, he does not move on them right away. Instead, he hangs back, messes with their heads a little, lets the tension build, and then he explodes into action with the kind of speed and precision that leaves no room for a second attempt. Both men are handled and pushed out of the house within moments. In all the chaos, though, they end up grabbing the wrong panda entirely, walking out with a humidifier shaped like a panda instead of Turing 9. They make their way back to Shen, riding a wave of confidence, but the second he looks at what they have brought him, his expression goes cold and dark in an instant, and they feel the full weight of that mistake immediately. Shen makes his position absolutely clear. Now, he does not care what it takes or how they get it done, because Turing 9 has to be in his hands within the next 3 days. His buyer is already on the way, and the deal has been set in stone. The following morning, the students have gathered back in the Taekwondo hall to watch Qunan's training session, and Xiaolan throws out the joke that Xiao Yu should just go ahead and fight her brother. The two operatives take that opening as their window, slipping into the hall wearing girl disguises and settling quietly into the back row, watching and waiting for the right moment to move. The match between Xiao Yu and Qiunan gets underway, and the crowd gets loud and completely locked in, which gives the men exactly the cover they need to start working their way toward Xiaolan's bag and pulling the panda out. But Xiaobei is watching, and he shouts thief loud enough for the entire hall to hear it. And in an instant, the whole place erupts, kids grabbing whatever they can reach and rushing the two imposters in a wall of noise and bodies and pure chaos. The PE teacher comes sprinting in and orders everyone to stop, and in that window of total confusion, the two men manage to slip out of the building. And this time, they are actually walking away with the real Turing 9 in their hands. The police arrive not long after, and Xiaolan walks them through everything that happened. They take down the details, tell her to stay calm, and assure her that they will get it handled. While the students work together to clean up the hall, Xiao Yu, Xiaolan, Qiunan, and Xiaobei have already started quietly putting together their own plan to track the thieves down themselves, because waiting around is not something any of them are willing to do. Over at Shen's hideout, Turing 9 has finally made it into his hands, but the toy is sitting behind a password wall, and the only person who knows what that password is happens to be Shaolin. He leans forward and presses Dr. Zhang forward in a hard, cutting tone. Dr. Zhang holds his gaze and calmly tells him he does not know it. Shen's men spend hours running every hack they can think of against the lock and come up completely empty every single time. The program buried inside Turing 9 is valued at $100 million, and every failed attempt is pushing Shen closer and closer to the edge. 2 days have passed. The police have told Shaolin that a serious, organized gang appears to be behind all of it and that they are actively working the case, and still the panda is sitting there locked and silent. Shen keeps turning his frustration on Dr. Zhang and making him pay for it physically, but the man refuses to give him a single thing to work with. Then a voice message lands on Dr. Zhang's phone. It is Shaolin's voice, warm and full of life, reminding her father that it is her birthday and that the party is starting at 6, and he had better be home on time. Shen listens to it once, and a slow, cold smile works its way across his face. He gives the order to bring her in. That evening, the 4 kids are out at the market together picking up a birthday gift for Shaolin when a message comes through at the house saying that her father has arrived outside. She breaks away from the group and runs to the gate, but instead of her father, she finds a black car sitting there with Shen's men inside and Dr. Zhang bound and gagged in the back seat. She walks closer, uneasy and confused, and Dr. Zhang strains against everything holding him back and manages to scream at her to run before a thug closes the distance and grabs her. Her scream carries far enough that Xunan and Xiao Yu hear it clearly, and they are already moving toward it before the sound has even finished echoing. Xiao Yu hits the gate just as one of the men shoves him hard into the ground, and Xunan drives into the same thug only to get thrown back just as easily. The car is already gone with Xiaolan inside before either of them can do a single thing to stop it. Chunin tells Xiao Bei to get on the phone with the police, while he and Xiao Yu take off on foot after the car, completely unaware that Xiao Bei has already fallen in quietly behind them, without making a sound. When they reach the hideout, the men drag Dr. Zhang and Xiaolan inside and force them both down into chairs directly in front of Shen. He presses a knife to Xiaolan's throat and tells Dr. Zhang in a flat, lifeless voice that the password is the only thing standing between his daughter and what comes next. Xiaolan, shaking and completely thrown, demands to know what password they are even talking about. And then something happens that nobody in that room was expecting. The sensors built into Turing 9 pick up her voice, the exact voice pattern it had been programmed to recognize from the very beginning. And with a soft, quiet click, the toy unlocks itself completely on its own. Shen's face opens up with satisfaction the moment it happens, because as far as he is concerned, the hard part is now behind him. Dr. Zhang, on the other hand, is sitting there with a kind of quiet, hollow pain that is impossible to miss. His daughter is alive, but the program that he spent years protecting has just been handed over in the worst possible way. Outside, the 2 guards holding their posts at the entrance are dealt with one at a time. Qunan slips up behind the junior one and puts him out cold during a moment he steps away, while Xiao Yu lures the senior outside with a clean misdirection and drops him just as efficiently. The perimeter around the building is now clear. Anderson, the buyer, arrives at the hideout shortly after to finalize the transfer and close the deal. A faint sound drifts in from outside, and Shen, who has been on edge the whole time, sends one of his most trusted men out to go and figure out what it is. What not a single person in that room has figured out yet is that Xiao Bei has already been inside the building for a while, tucked into a shadowed corner where he has been watching everything play out in complete silence. He can see Turing 9 sitting on the table. He can see Anderson's laptop sitting open. He can see the money transfer being set up in real time. And so he begins moving, slowly, carefully, without disturbing a single thing, until he is close enough to reach Anderson's computer and quietly redirect the destination account number to somewhere Shen will never see a single dollar from. Then he eases back into the shadows and disappears again, like he was never there. Outside, Shen's man steps out and finds the senior guard stretched out unconscious on the ground, and he moves fast toward the junior in a panic. But Chunan and Xiao Yu are already positioned right behind him, and they take him down within seconds of each other. Chunan plants himself outside and tells Xiao Yu to get through that door and bring Xiaolan out. Back inside the room, the deal has already started coming apart at the seams. Anderson pushes the money through, and it simply does not land anywhere near Shen's account. The tension in the room spikes hard and fast, and within moments both men are shouting at each other across the table, Shen flat out refusing to release the program until he sees the payment confirmed. While that argument is eating up everyone's attention, Xiao Bei has been quietly crawling his way toward his father and sister and working at the ropes holding them. But a small, unavoidable sound gives him away, and Shen whips around and catches him before he can finish. That is the exact moment Xiao Yu comes blowing through the door. Every enforcer and guard in the room turns and moves toward him at once, but he has already begun moving through them with the kind kind of controlled, devastating precision that only gets built through years of Shaolin training, and they go down in sequence, one after another, without being able to do much about it. Xiao Bei uses every second of that chaos to finish cutting his father and Xiaolan loose, and the three of them immediately throw themselves into what is left of the fight alongside Xiao Yu to finish clearing the room. With almost everyone down, Shen snatches the program off the table and makes a desperate run for the exit. The whole group goes after him, but outside Xiunan has been locked in a brutal, grinding fight with Shen's most powerful enforcer and has been absorbing some serious punishment in the process. Shen screams at the man to hold everyone back long enough for him to get clear, which means Xiao Yu is now standing alone in front of someone built to break people. He stops. He pulls in one slow, steady breath. He lets every lesson his master ever pushed into him rise to the surface, and then he commits to one single, fully loaded strike that sends the enforcer straight into the ground with nothing left to give. At the same time, Dr. Zhang, Xiao Bei, and Xiaolun have been closing the gap around Shen from every direction, and in his blind panic to find a way out, he loses his footing and goes crashing down under a heavy pile of fallen boxes. Dr. Zhang steps forward and lifts Turing 9 back into his own hands for the first time since this all began. The police arrive not long after, right on schedule, as always, once every dangerous thing has already been resolved, and Shen, Anderson, and every man who came with them are placed in cuffs and taken away. The group that is left standing is battered, worn through, and running on empty, but there is a quiet, genuine smile passing between all of them that says everything without needing a single word. Dr. Zhang wraps his arms around his children and holds them the way a man holds on when he has come far too close to losing everything, and he tells them plainly and without any hesitation that he is done leaving. That chapter is finished. Xiaolan smiles at him through the tears already running freely down her face and tells him, just as simply, that they are not going anywhere either. The final scene lands at the school's annual ceremony, where Xiao Yu and his friends are brought up onto the stage and honored in front of the entire school for the courage they showed in helping bring down a dangerous and organized criminal operation. The crowd gets to its feet, and the cheering fills the room from every direction. And standing there in the middle of all of it is Xiao Yu, the boy who walked through the doors of a strange country completely on his own, who showed up every single time it mattered, and who left something behind in everyone who watched him. A reminder that real strength has never just lived in the hands. It has always lived in the heart.